Hey there, and welcome back to the Virtual Cafe for another coffee convo about business finances. I'm your host, Kerry Zarb, and I am joined by Kim White. We invite you to join us at our table with your favourite brew. Let's pull up our chairs and get into today's episode. Come on, let's go. It's coffee time.
Good morning, Princess Kim.
Good morning, Kerry. Sliding in at the last minute.
So, Kim, we have an exciting conversation today. We want to talk a little bit about money mindset today. Does anything come to mind for you to kick off this conversation?
You know, Kerry, one of the big things with this topic, I feel like, is the fear or the intimidation of your finances, not knowing what to do, not knowing, how to do something or why to do something. And I think that we can let that slow us down or stop us. So I would love to hear, how you help other people, because you help a lot of people, help other people get past those fears.
Kim, that's a really good question, and I think that's a great place to kick off the conversation because you're right, fear and intimidation, a lot of it comes into our finances, and when we talk about our money mindset, we can adopt this from a young age. We could have, grown up in a pretty stable financial environment, and then perhaps, as we've gotten a little bit older and had money of our own, maybe something's changed. On the flip side of that, we might have grown up like I did, Kim, where we didn't have a lot of money, so there wasn't money spare, and it was really a lot of decision-making processes involved when money needed to be spent. And I remember the conversations around the kitchen table, with the budgeting of the finances just to cover the base expenses of running a household and, mum and dad and 2 kids and how many animals to feed and all of that. So I think, it can really come from an early age, or like I said before, it can perhaps change in our paths. I guess when we talk about fear and intimidation, sometimes our money mindset comes from fear of the unknown. It's like everything in business. We can actually feel quite confident in tackling social media. Perhaps we actually, suddenly get to that point in our business where we go, I'm going to hit social media and I'm going to, launch on these platforms and do all these, engagements and social media posts and everything. But we don't know what we don't know. And Kim, you've referred to this in the past. We're not born with all of these base knowledge things that we need in life, let alone in business. And I talk about it often, Kim, referring back to the school system. What does the school system actually teach us? I don't remember them ever bringing up any way to manage our money, even as young adults, stepping through the school system and preparing for things like leaving home. How do you afford to pay your electricity bill, and how do you keep the roof over your head by paying your rent? And, there was none of that spoken about. It was just basic mathematics that we were taught. And if we had a household that was, kind of giving us that inside knowledge and including us in those conversations, we could become a little bit more familiar. But I don't think even that gave us some of the knowledge that we needed to actually handle life, handle being an adult, handle having the responsibilities that come with money. Does that kind of spark anything in your mind, Kim?
Oh, definitely, Kerry. And you used a term that I haven't really thought about, but it was the financial instability that caused us when I was little to live in crisis mode. It was survival, it was crisis. There was never enough. And so I think that sparked, and I hate to use this word inappropriately, but I think it almost sparks trauma now as an adult, because I don't want to go back there. And so I think I battle this all the time, I think
you're onto something there, Kim, because you've just sparked something in my mind that relates to present day. now, running a business for a decade and the finances are quite stable. I still watch them. I still have to be careful. I've got to make sure that the client work is getting done and then being billed and that they're paying on time. So it's that whole cycle that continues. At the same time, though, the funds that are, built up in the business, the emergency funds and the secret stashes of all the beans that are put aside, you feel more guarded about those because, and again, I think this is a reflection of 2 points in time for me, growing up as a kid and not having much money, and then obviously my business financial train wreck that happened when I was much younger. Both of those things come to the forefront of my mind when I look at these accounts, and it makes me think twice. It makes me think twice about having perhaps some of the expenses in the business, perhaps sometimes making financial decisions when it comes to spending money that's not part of the everyday budget. And I think, what you said about that instability and leading to the trauma, we can use it to our advantage as much as we may somewhat be mentally scarred by it from previous experiences. But at the same time, we can actually flip it into a strength and we can use it in a way that a lot of people, it may not make perfect sense to a lot of people, but we can actually use it to our advantage.
Kim, do you need another coffee?
I do, Kerry.
Okay, why don't we just take a quick break, rest our voices, grab that other cup, and we'll be right back.
See you in a minute.
Do you find your finances confusing or overwhelming? Well, guess what? You're not alone. I'm Kerry Zarb and I am your financial designer. It's time to take away those sleepless nights, all the stress and pressure we feel from those flippin' digits. Finances can be hard. This is why your seat at my virtual cafe is reserved in the Biz Beans Club. Our gatherings are held on the third Monday of each month at 6 p.m. Central Time, and I'd love you to join us to ask questions, gain access to resources so that you can get in control of your business finances. This is where coffee meets money. Are you ready? What are you waiting for? It's time for you to be in the driver's seat of your finances.
Oh, I think you're spot on, Kerry, as usual. I think that it has taught me so many lessons. And as an adult, learning some of those lessons has been hard, but I also know that it helps me move forward every day.
Exactly. And Kim, I want to come back to one of the key words that you mentioned earlier, which was fear, because a lot of decisions that we make in life, in business, in our personal journeys, fear has a lot to do with it. If we've been in that situation where money's been an issue, whether it was good or bad, either way, we can actually kind of have that ingrained in our kind of mental mindset for our money that it can actually stop us doing anything. We can actually have it, I guess, not in our favour. As much as we can turn it into a power and we can use it to our advantage, we can also have it slow us down and actually stop us. Maybe everything seems like too much of a risk. Therefore, we get stuck. We get stuck in that fear mentality of just not doing anything. And sometimes I wonder, do we miss out? Do we perhaps not take advantage of some situations? Do we not press buttons when we should? I know me, sometimes I press buttons when I shouldn't, and it has that ripple effect. And it's all about, I guess where I'm going with this whole conversation is having as much knowledge behind us as we possibly can get so that we don't fear the finances. And we certainly, if we've had a mindset and something's happened in our past, whether it be recent or way back, just consider what that's doing to you and the decisions that you're making about that. And just making sure that we're conscious of it. Because I don't think a lot of us even know that exists, Kim. What do you think?
Oh, Kerry, I think you're spot on with that again, because I think when we don't slow down and be aware that we feel that way or have that, going on, I think we can repeat it, actually. I think we can live in fear and live in, that place of just feeling that instability, even though we don't have to anymore, just staying in those emotions and like all of that. I'll confess, Kerry, I have to work on me all the time. Like, this is something that's every single day I work on me in all of these areas, because I can slide quickly into that fear or that the things that keep me making bad decisions even, or keep me making the wrong choices. So I think that addressing this and being aware is huge for all of us.
And Kim, you just said something else that I thought was particularly interesting, because we can slip into old habits, and habits aren't just physically things that we do. They can actually be just the thinking that comes with it. There might be something, again, from our past that's carried with us. We may not be aware, like I mentioned before. We can actually slip back into that vicious cycle that we, as humans, we're all human. And I think this is what gets maybe a little bit overlooked from time to time. I am as guilty as the next person of realizing something at any moment in time and sitting there and having the opportunity to question myself. Because you're right, Kim, we always need to be working on ourselves. That is something I don't think will ever stop, because we're all learning, growing, we're on the journey, doing all the things and normally running at a fast pace. So when we do get a moment to actually sit there and take a breath and have a bit of a reflection, but sometimes it just comes at the weirdest times, like one click of the mouse and bam, it's like, whoa, why was I going to do that? Ooh, look at that. And just having, maybe not right there and then, you have the time to sit down and reflect on it, but you might just make a bit of a mental note for you for later that day or come the weekend to actually maybe analyse it a little bit. Why was I pressing that button? Why was I doing that thing? What made me think that? Where did that come from? And I think identification here is key to actually identify us as humans, not only for our money mindset, but for many of the actions we do.
Well, now you're really getting into a lot, Kerry. It's all of our actions we have to be aware of. There are just some that I feel like are more dangerous than others because it impacts those around us.
I agree, Kim. I absolutely agree with that. It's amazing the influence that we have on those around us. And you bring up a really good point with that, because and let's go back, when I think about my parents sitting around the kitchen table and stressing about paying the mortgage, putting food on the table, having enough money for the power bill, the next load of hay was coming in and they had to budget for that. I remember that stress that was transferred. And now that I think about it, right now in this conversation, it actually almost makes me kind of pull my shoulders up a little bit with that stress. We carry that with us as humans, as much as we may not identify it at the time. Right now, bringing that conversation to the surface and all those happenings makes me kind of go, it's a little bit like walking on eggshells all of a sudden. It just gives you that little tingle that you forgot about. So I think that's pretty awesome. But Kim, I want to ask you something. If you had a moment and you actually recognised that your money mindset or any other mindset in business wasn't quite on track, let's talk about how we change that. Do you have any suggestions, Kim?
Oh, Kerry, I think this is a super powerful conversation, because I think it's a thing we have to do over time, but I do think one of the things is to, get accountability. I think accountability changes so many things in our lives, whether it be exercise, our finances, whatever it is. I feel like accountability is a big key to what has helped me anyway.
I agree with that, Kim. And the other piece of that is knowledge. Because we can be accountable all day long, and we can have, people in our corner that are helping us but be accountable with the finances. But we need some understanding. We actually need to get some base knowledge behind us to help trigger I guess, like a new mindset, a new zone of learning. How do we actually, together with the accountability and the knowledge, bring those two awesome words together? And I think that's one of the kind of secret recipes, because accountability is great, don't get me wrong, and I love it. I'm probably, let's say I'm addicted to accountability, but the knowledge, we can get some base understanding of the finances, particularly if we've got a negative money mindset, and then we don't have the knowledge to help correct that course. Getting something behind us and having some guidance, a guiding light in this area, I think is going to make a huge difference. What do you think, Kim?
I think you're right, Kerry. I think it does have to be both, and I agree completely. If I have financial questions, I am coming to you, Kerry. You have so much wisdom in the financial arena and so much practical and tactical things to teach all of us. I feel like you are our secret weapon in this community of getting over these fears and doing our finances well.
And Kim, I'm going to add to that. Thank you for those sweet words. But you know what? I think part of that power comes from turning up, actually being present. I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning like everybody else. I'll never know it all. However, I'm turning up, and I guess, my purpose is to let people know we can work it out, whatever it is, whatever situation you're in with your finances. If you've got questions, if you're not sure, someone is in your corner, and there's plenty of Kerrys out there. Like, I'm not the only one. There'd be a Kerry on every corner, I'm sure.
Well, I have to interrupt you, Kerry, because I don't believe that at all. I think I've spent a lifetime looking for someone who was like you, Kerry, who was you, because there are not very many people out there who will get in the trenches with you, with your finances and help you learn and not judge you. And there's a whole list of things that make you different, Kerry. So I don't even want you saying that, because honestly, it's almost like you're a unicorn sometimes, because there are not a lot of people who care enough to help with finances.
Kim, I want to be a unicorn. I love all the colours that come with a unicorn. I want a big, bright rainbow-coloured tail and all those things. So that sounds pretty special to me. However, I think maybe I'd like to think there's a Kerry on every corner. I know I'm not the only one, and I appreciate what you said, Kim, but it's a little bit kind of uncomfortable for me, because I'd prefer to keep thinking that there's a Kerry on every corner and there's plenty of help out there. And I know it's limited. It's limited in every single industry. And it's not so much that there's not enough people. Maybe it's just not the right people. So all those things you rattled off, Kim, kind of make me sit here and blush a little bit, because that's who I am and that's how I like to be. But I really do have a little bit of hope that there's more of that out there, but so far I'm not hearing it. I confess. So, and I don't tell lies, and I just can't. It's just not my thing. But I'd like to think there's more out there somewhere.
I would like to think it, Kerry, but I have not found that to be true.
Here's hoping, Kim. Here's hoping. Maybe I'm starting a new wave of Kerrys in the financial space. You never know. But Kim, let's go back to this over time business, because I think, again, you've just brought another absolute gem to the table of this conversation, because I agree with you. It does take time. Whether it's your money mindset or your financial position, it takes time. Nothing's overnight. I'm yet to find something, Kim, that I can press the button on and all my problems in that area vanish with the press of one button. Have you got any examples of those things, Kim?
Oh my goodness, Kerry, let me give you my list of things that does not work that way.
No. You're supposed to give me the list of things that do work that way.
I'm still looking, Kerry. I have not found that magic pill or that magic thing that makes it not it makes it not work. I think that the word efforting, David White taught us that word. And I think efforting is part of the money and the mindset shifts, because we need to effort and put some effort on our part to learn some things from you and learn about how to conduct our finances, or learn what's best, or at least learn our choices. Because I think a lot of times we feel like we don't have a choice in our finances. We just are stuck somewhere. And you have definitely brought so much to the table with and I want to use the example of your simple subscriptions. That saved this community so much money that I think no one really knew that they didn't have. Even if they were struggling, they didn't realize they could be saving that money and not paying it out for things that, were actually not that important.
Well, Kim, I'm glad you brought up a couple of things there. Yes, David White and the efforting. Yes, that's huge, absolutely huge, and I appreciate him teaching us that word. And I'm glad you brought up simple subscriptions, because I'm getting more and more people actually give me feedback. I'm slowly getting numbers from everyone, because people are still working on simple subscriptions, which is great. And I'm getting more and more messages about it, as in people actually, just sending me a comment saying, I can't believe I never thought about this. I can't believe that I've found, this company charging me this. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what I'm paying for, yet there it is on my bank statement. I don't want anyone to waste money in any capacity whatsoever, but I am glad to get that feedback, because for someone to say, oh, I'm spending all this money and I don't know where it's going, that's head in the stand material. That is not even trying to address the issue. They're just watching this money fly out of their bank account without a care in the world, and they shrug their shoulders and go, oh, I'll deal with it later. So simple subscriptions has been brought into many people's lives, where we have saved over $52,000 in this community. So that's huge. And I think it's just brought a different awareness. Kim, you and I were talking about this the other day, how we both think now before we press a button on something that's going to cost us an amount of money each month, month after month. You and I probably have pressed the least amount of buttons ever in existence, in maybe even in our lifetime, by doing simple subscriptions. Isn't that amazing, Kim?
Oh, Kerry, I think it's super amazing. And I'll give you a silly example. We were watching a movie and we wanted to watch the next episode of I guess it's not a movie, it's a show. And I giggled to myself because you could get a free trial and watch it. And I'm like, oh no, I'll pay the $3 or whatever it was to buy the thing, because I don't want anything being a recurring payment in my stuff anymore. I don't want to have to go back and cancel it. So I immediately pressed a different button so I didn't have to worry about a free trial, because they get me every time, Kerry.
Kim, I'm with you. I think we need to start a global movement called free trial avoidance, because I don't want to do it either. There's been so many things come past my screen in the last few months that I've gone, and it's so easy, isn't it? Like, you enter your email, they get you to set up a password, and we want your credit card details. And it's like, hang on a minute. As soon as that pops up now, I'm like, but I thought it was free. And then it says, free trial for 7 days or 14 days or 30 days. I just can't do it. I can't press the button. I've just got this whole talk about money mindset. My mind says, no, the boom gate comes down and I am just not playing. And I will spend, I don't even care. I will spend half an hour or an hour on Google to find something else that isn't going to trap me, rather than actually press a few buttons and be done in a few seconds. Because the same as you, Kim, I don't want to go back. I don't want to think about it, because I know you're going to get me. You're going to chew up my bank account, and I don't want that. Isn't it funny?
Well, I will tell you, Kerry, I think anyone who doesn't already have it, do that free trial, because there is no credit card involved with that. you can get simple subscriptions and learn what we're talking about, and it's completely free. This is something that Kerry created from something she was doing, and then she was kind enough to share it with all of us. So I will say that, Kerry, that's one of the best free things on the planet to get yourself back on track financially, or to, even if you're on track financially, it will save you money if you pay attention.
And Kim, I'm going to add to that, because the free version of Simple Subscriptions, there's only one version and it is completely free. You do put in your email address. However, you don't even have to tick the box to get the emails. Like, if you don't want to hear from me again, if you just want to grab Simple Subscriptions and just go and have a play and whatever, you don't have to tick the box. So there's no catch. There's no strings attached. There's nothing there. I just want people to have a go at it and have a look at these recurring payments that we're all facing, and let's open our money mindset to these recurring things that happen with, sometimes we don't even know what they are, and they sneak in and the trials end, and next minute you've paid for something for years and guilty over here. That's what happened to me. I found things that I didn't even know, and I look at my numbers all the time, and I still found things, and I'm still finding things, to the point of, because I've got my list and I've done my cancellations, now I look at that list every couple of months and I go, okay, where are we sitting now? Oh, are we still using that? Oh, actually, I think we will for another month, and then I'm going to put a reminder on my calendar to look at it again. So it's really handy. It's really handy to have that list to refer back to when you want to kind of look at your expenses and see what's going on. So, and I think I've just become the biggest tight ass in the world ever since I did it, Kim.
I think that's funny, Kerry, but I feel like that has changed me. It just changes the way you think about things when you are not baited with the marketing of the free, and you realize that on the other side of that free is payments every month. It changes things. And for yours to be truly free, and I love what you said about they don't even have to get on the list. I am going to suggest they stay on your list, because you're forever given great tips or things to do with your finances. So if they're not going to join the club, the best way to stay connected to you is to be on your list.
You mentioned another word before. I just caught it in the conversation. You said something about options, because I just want to say this for the record. We do have choices when it comes to finances. I think there's a bit of a myth out there that says it's very rigid and it's very structured. And yes, there are laws and there's rules that we need to follow. 100%, can't argue with them. You certainly don't want to go to jail, all the things. However, the way that we get there, how we need it to operate for us, how are we actually going to get our finances working for us rather than us working for the finances? That's the magic. Speaking of magic buttons and curing the world problems, like I want to invent a keyboard that's got that magic button. I need to speak to Microsoft and Logitech, and they're obviously not sponsoring me at the moment, but hey, they could one day, you never know. And yeah, we need a magic button that, I don't know, it's got to do something pretty special, but I think we all just need a little bit of support and options. Options are king. I love the word options, because there's actually really old kind of terminology from over here. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it in the States, Kim. There's more than one way to skin a cat, which is absolutely horrific when you think about it. Have you heard that one, Kim?
I have, Kerry, and I think the same thing. How horrible.
I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it right now. Let's call it more than one way to skin a snake. That sounds better.
You're so funny, Kerry.
Well, Kim, we're coming pretty close to time here. I would like to wrap up this conversation so that you can get on with your day. I'm going to get on with my evening, because it's, marching on pretty late here. Any final thoughts for this conversation today, Kim?
Kerry, I think just thank you so much for all the influence you've had on my life and those around us. You have definitely made it where our mindset has changed and is changing still about money and about not being intimidated or afraid to make decisions and get the help, get the wisdom from you. So thank you, Kerry.
You're very welcome, Kim. It is always my pleasure. And you know how much I'm just completely addicted to the finances. Like, I just can't shake it. I can't shake. You know what? Can I just say out loud for a second here, Kim? I avoided it. I avoided it for so long. I've been doing this for a decade. And I don't know, there was something in my brain, talk about money mindset, there was something in my brain that was actually saying to me, like a little gremlin on my shoulder saying, no, don't. Nobody wants to know about finances. Don't be silly. Who's going to listen to you? What do you think you've got to share? You don't know it all. Speaking of money mindset, I had all those gremlins as well, Kim. So I think that's a little bit of a tribute to today's conversation and just a bit of a reality check. We all have underlying issues, and I don't know, now that I've well, not now, but for the last decade and actually working with the numbers and actually coming out, reach more people and help more people, it feels good, Kim. It feels really good.
Well, we are grateful for you, Kerry.
Thank you, Kim. Well, let's wrap up this conversation. We're going to head out of here. And like I said, Kim, you'll get on with your day. I'll get on with my evening. And we will see everybody same time, same place here next week. How's that?
I love it, Kerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for joining us in the Virtual Cafe. You can follow the show to be notified of future episodes, and if you're enjoying this podcast, we encourage you to leave a rating or personal review. Until next time, happy biz beans to you. No beans were harmed during the production of this podcast. Information contained in this podcast should be taken as general advice only, and your personal circumstances have not been taken into account. It is recommended that you seek financial advice from a professional who is licensed to do so. If you choose to act upon the general advice shared, you do so at your own